Shalom, Kol Halal, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kwadash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors to the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The would-be judges, the 144,000, 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. All right, which is the tabernacle of David that's being set up here on earth by who the world fraudulently and falsely called JC. All right, who was a so-called man of color, a brown man. And he's setting up his people to rule in his stead here on earth. All right, that is the kingdom of heaven. That is the gospel. Right, he saw a new heaven and a new earth coming down. And finally, it will be on earth as it is in heaven, just as the Lord's Prayer says. And the brown face will rule over the pale faces and everyone else. And not just any brown face, but the Israelites, because all the nations originally were so-called brown. Okay, outside of Esau, Edom, who is red. You can see who's red on this page. All right, and to the rest of the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen nations that have the appearance of the heathen nations. Some of our people will come even looking like the red folk on this page. And that's a fact. All right, so it's not just a black thing. Okay, that's the lie, the false controlled narrative that Esau, Edom tried to push, this separation with color. All right, controlling the narrative, identifying by color, and that's actually not how you do it. Okay, not since the fall of man, and when people started moving around, etc., intermingling, right? Because nationality is determined by seed. Thus says the Bible, not color. And to the rest of the Akwath, all right, that meaning the sisters that are listening and learning, to you I say shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you another brutal lesson in truth. And all the things that have happened in the past, all right, when you put it all together, look, World War III started at 9/11 at an event that has more holes in it than Swiss cheese. All right, for anyone to believe the official narrative that's put into the textbooks, you're stupid. You're ignorant and you're stupid. All right, there's too many facts, too much evidence to prove otherwise, that the official story is completely and totally fraudulent. What you have to understand, though, is that set things in motions to give the Ish the complete control over the narrative by the changing of the laws, the Patriot Act. All these things set in motion the ability for them to boldly and flagrantly get around the law of the land, which is the Constitution, which is coming to a boiling point. All right, to take away the freedom of speech, the freedom of travel, all under the guise of safety. Okay, now you have a nation that is ruling in your. You have a foreign nation that's ruling over Americans, according to their will. And I'm just gonna play this video to show you the power of the Ish, the power of the small hats, and what the power that they have here in America. Because when you can't speak about another people, and I'm not saying insulting them or saying things that are just unprofessional about them. When you just speak truth, okay, and you're counseled. They've now set up, what do you call it? The what do you call it? The social credit score. All right. Now they're going to be able to counsel you completely if you say anything that doesn't go against the narrative, which is completely un-American. I just watched Hamilton, all right? And I can see why it was such a big hit, and they left out, even though it was Jake that made it great. That's another thing, both Northern and Southern Kingdom. But they also leave out, the truth about how much Jake was involved in those things as well. All right, but that's what they do: create and control the narrative. And now, well, here we go.
Canceled indefinitely after some comments that he made about Charlie Kirk. It's causing a lot of debate. I didn't expect his show to get canceled. This all stems from comments that he made on TV where he said,
Let's start that again.
Jimmy Kimmel's late night show has been canceled indefinitely after some comments that he made about Charlie Kirk. It's causing a lot of debate. I didn't expect his show to get canceled. This all stems from comments that he made on TV where he said, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the Maca gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who pew-pewed Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it." Also,
and that's true. He was one of them. All right. Where's the crime in that? Who was harmed in that? Yet they canceled. Now, I mean, at the end of the day, MF, Jimmy Kimmel. But when you read that comment, because it doesn't fit the narrative, all right, and it's crazy is that weekend with Charlie Kirk pushing so much hatred and control, and the narrative that he pushed was that the problem here in America was with brown people. That's and the violence. But yet you had the day that he died, there were other incidents and incidents after it of extreme violence, which were almost all committed by pale males, the magicide, including the hangings of so-called black men. All right, shortly thereafter, not fitting their narrative at all.
Criticized President Trump's reaction to this news. Shortly after, the president of Nexstar Media, one of the country's largest TV station owners, announced that the show would stop airing. Said that Kimmel's words were offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our national political discourse.
What was offensive and insensitive? He spoke the truth. He didn't call them pieces of shit. He didn't call them, blatant liars or anything. He simply spoke the truth in very plain, sensitive language. He didn't use explicit adjectives or anything. So truth is offensive to a people whose rule and existence is all based upon lies. That's the understanding that you must come to.
They don't reflect the communities that Nexstar serves,
which is a lie. It doesn't reflect Nexstar's and its handlers' narrative.
Trump praised ABC for finally having the courage to do what needed to be done. That Kimmel had zero talent. It seems like he's going for all the TV hosts because he said that leaves Jimmy and Seth, two total losers on fake news NBC. I would not be surprised if he got rid of every host. And it seems like he doesn't like hosts that criticize him. After 22 years on air, basically my age, it's gonna feel
so 22 years on air, but he had no talent. Well, he didn't. None of them had as much talent as Arsenio Hall, but that's another story. But we're gonna get to the scriptures. I got a lot of scriptures lined up, but I had to get these short videos out the way. All right, now these are a set of videos, 3 short ones, that my cousin sent to me. All right. And this is my older cousin. And he too was a Marine like myself. So, but he's very much wrapped up in the world. And I try to communicate with him, but it's like talking to a wall, just to be honest with you. He just doesn't get it. All right.
have ships literally sitting at our borders. And y'all are worried about what's going on social media, what's going on with Tory Lanez, what's going on with Donald Trump and getting indicted, and what's going on with the Titan. And in the meantime, China and Russia are literally knocking on our doorsteps. Y'all didn't see this yesterday? There were 11 Chinese and Russian ships in a combined military effort at our borders of Alaska. If you didn't watch the Congress meeting, the Congress hearing a few months ago, when they were talking about all this stuff happening, they said it was going to happen in the next 5 years. You don't think China and Russia watched that? Where they watched our senators literally say that they were outnumbered? Y'all need to start paying attention and paying attention.
Well, you know, it's nothing. It is absolutely nothing you can do about any of that. All right. It's prophecy that Gog and Magog is going to rise up against the beast. And the beast is about to go down. This is it. And that's why it's coming so hard. It's just like, you know, when those video games that so many of you love to play, you know, it's the boss always gets hardest right before you're about to beat the game. You know, that time you keep playing and playing, but your character keeps not making it. You get so close. You know, that's just how it's all set up. It's always the hardest before the enemy is about to fall. All right. The wounded animal fights the hardest, man. So in the midst of all that geopolitical madness that's going on around the world and in America, is they're trying to gain control of the narrative and shut down anyone and demonize Jacob at the same time, because they have to make like the young man's face and what's her name, Jenna Ortega. All right, you brown people, him and her, you have to be the face of the problem here in America, while Jimmy Kimmel's face is the face of the solution, which is actually the real problem. And that's just fact.
I refuse to believe that Trey Reed deleted himself on a college campus in Mississippi.
They broke some
Since
of his
the
own
passing
bones
of
first.
Charlie Kirk, a few cases of black men being found hung from trees is growing rapidly. And of course, as usual, police always suspect no foul play. This is an ongoing issue that needs attention because mainstream media is not bringing it to light. And then someone gonna tell me, well, how do you know? How do you know someone did it? How do you know he didn't do it himself? Because that's not in black people to do. Black people don't do that.
No, they don't.
That's why. That's how I know.
Especially
we don't
like
do
that.
We don't hang ourselves from trees. Come on, man. Give me a break.
Yeah, and not only that, he broke his own bones before he hung himself. So with broken bones, he still was able to, hoist himself up and throw this rope around over the tree and then hang himself. All right. This is and so, you know, Esau, Edom, and I'm getting to the scriptures, man. I'm getting ready to go. I got some scriptures lined up, you know, that I want to go into as to what's really going on here. But Esau, Edom has a history of lying, changing the narrative, changing history, and covering up facts, and even more so, putting his face where he doesn't belong to make himself the hero, to make himself the standard of what's good. All right. Hence the word white. You know, white is associated with purity. Black, and though you're looking at a brown face, two brown people, all right, here on the screen, one red person on this screen, all right, no one is black or white. Those are complete total social constructs that they created to control the narrative. And white has everything to do with purity, and black has everything to do with evil, dirty, nasty, you know, immoral, etc., etc. So, last video, then we go into the scriptures.
When black people build an entire nation for you, you lie about who they are and you give those credit. Let me show you just how strong the white supremacy propaganda machine is. Do any of y'all remember this movie, World Trade Center, with Nicolas Cage in it? It was a real big deal because it was the first movie.
The hell with Michael Pena, huh? Didn't even mention his name.
And of course, the movie is supposed to be based off of the actual events that happened that day. Well, according to the events that happened, there was a Marine that saved many lives and pulled people out of the wreckage, the rubble, from the World Trade Center buildings collapsing. And that Marine was very brave and valiant. He was an American hero. And in the movie World Trade Center, this is who they had to play the Marine. You can see him right there. Did y'all know that this is the actual Marine that was full of bravery and courage, that saved countless lives, that pulled people out of the wreckage and rubble? An American hero. But somehow, Hollywood thought that it was best to portray this American hero, who is a black man, as a white man. See, America has a long-standing history of lying about who black people are. When black people are brave and valiant, when black people make
all I see is
inventions,
brown
when
people on the
black
screen,
people
by the
build
way.
an entire nation for you, you lie about who they are and you give those credits to your own people, to white people. And then you turn around and lie and make up statistics and make up false narratives about who black people are.
Oh, yeah.
To fit your agenda that you are the people that are good and right. When in all actuality, you have to lie about who we are and paint a false narrative. It wasn't blacks or Hispanics that took the life of Charlie Kirk. Whenever you think of 9/11, just remember they lied about who a hero was. They lied about everything else regarding black people.
They lied about the entire event. You know, he must be one of them UPK guys. But let's go into the scriptures, man. Let's go into the scriptures. This is the book of Sirach, 14:5. And it reads, "He that gathereth by defrauding his own soul gathereth for others, that shall spend his good riotously," in the main point. "He that is evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his own goods." Now, you know, it's steel buildings steel girders and buildings like that didn't collapse before 9/11 from fires and didn't collapse after. And all these engineers, produced the evidence and the receipts proving that the only way they could have, came down like that in a free fall was if there were explosives planted throughout the building. All right. Which also would have made it impossible for the enemy to get access to the building to plant such things. And the fact that a third building, which they never even talk about, that 40+ story building, building 7, also collapsed in the same manner and nothing ever hit it. How did it even get on fire? All right. And then you find out about the insurance that was taken out for the very same event, about certain demographic of people who didn't go to work that day. Yeah, the dancing ish, on the building across the bay there. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 11 and read 39 and 40. And it reads, "Are not thou it that remainest of the fourth beast, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them?" See, Esau Edom is bringing his own end. That's why Gog and Magog are sitting in Alaska and is their own technology and their own actions that are bringing their own destruction. This red dragon, all right, that was wounded but yet did live. See, how did it wound? How was it wounded? Well, Jacob, brown men, the Israelites, were the reason of the fall of Rome, which they try to hide from history. All right, and they ended up taking over all Eurasia, Asia, all of, for the most part, all of Western Asia that they fraudulently call the Middle East. All right, and And Esau, Edom has hatred and anger toward them for doing so. But they kind of hid that. All right. They didn't want, because this time around, when the dragon got the dominion again, because it said the dragon that was wounded but yet did live, we'll get to that. They came together to ensure that you didn't know. That's all in Psalms 83, the 83rd chapter. All right. When they were confederate, and they decided that they were not going to allow you to know who you were this time around. Matter of fact, let me get some of that. Let me go to Psalms 83. When it says 83 and 3, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. See, the hidden ones were the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. It was hidden who they were. See, Esau, Edom gave all these new age titles to hide the truth about who the ancient nations are, and then attached his name to some ancient people under a false narrative. All right. Because the only time that, because they really are J-ish, you can give them that. And the Bible records the 2 times that J-ish people converted, and they converted from the nation of Edom. First under John Hyrcanus, actual Levite from one of the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. And then secondly, under Kagan Bullen in the 7th century, when they chose not to be Christian and not to be Islam, and wanted to remain neutral. All right. And so the people that are Ish today are descendants of both those people, because the Herodians, all right, were Edomites, and they married into the royal Levite line, and that's how they became Ish. All right. But yet they follow a whole, because the Ishness doesn't follow the Bible at all. They use the Bible as a cover to try and cover up and shield who they really are. But in reality, they follow something else completely different. The Babylonian Talmud, which is actually totally against what's written in the Holy Scriptures. So let's go to the book of Amos. All right, because what's happening with all this, with all this false events that took place, they were able to control the narrative, and now they're able to control speech. Okay, so along with that social credit score and the whole system that is going to operate in, you won't be able to see these videos. You won't be able to see the information that you can actually look up to link up to what I'm saying, to prove that I'm not just speaking my own opinion, that I'm speaking actual biblical truth, and that history lines up with what I'm saying and not with what they're saying. This is Amos 8 and 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord power, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor thirst of water, but for hearing the words of Yahweh. All right. That's where we are. All that is at hand. It is that time. All right. They hate us without cause, thus saith the Bible. Okay. Let's go back to Ezra's. But it's all going to come to, it's all for naught, because their time has come to an end. All right. But here's that 2nd Ezra 11 and 39. Are not thou it that remainest of the 4 beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end might come through them? See, so once again, through their own actions, they've brought the end. And the 4th beast, and the 4th came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression. And so long time dwelt he upon earth with great deceit. So there it is, man. They've been ruling with deceit and lies ever since they came into power. This is Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. All right, they're that red dragon, what remaineth of the 4th beast. See, the Bible tells you that the 4th beast would be in rulership upon the return of the Lord. The 4th beast was ruled over by Edom. the Edomites. Even the rabbis tell you that. There must be 100 videos, circulating on the internet where rabbis calling out white Christianity, European Christianity, American Christianity as being Esau or Edom, Esau, which they are, that they're what's left of the Roman Empire, and that they're Edom, and that the Lord is coming to destroy Edom. What they leave out is that they too are Edom. They leave that part out. Okay, this is Revelation 13. And 14. And he deceiveth all them that dwell on earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by a sword and did live. See, so the Roman Empire was wounded. It got brought down. You learn the history about Septimius Severus, who came out of North Africa, but was an Israelite, not an African, not an actual Hamite. It's another thing they lie about. I watched a video where a white, his name something Jennings, I forget his name, something Jennings, tried to make it, tried to tell the lie that the Israelites all went into Europe, which was a complete and total lie. Many Israelites did, but that was after the fall of Rome. All right. After the fall of Rome, they were ruling in most of Europe. Is what I was trying to say. Throughout the Dark Ages, all the way, the Middle Ages, all the way up until the Renaissance, when that red dragon, when the Renaissance came, that was the red dragon coming back into power. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, coming back into power. All right. Ben Franklin's letter from 1751 is evidence of that. Also, the German tapestry showing you the Germans, the Negroes, the Moors, the Israelites, okay, fighting the wild man, the Edomites, the so-called white man coming out of the Caucasus Mountains, trying to take back over, coming out of the woods, trying to attack the castles and things that were built by black people, so-called, by the way. Okay, so Esau has lied about everything. This is Revelation 12, 5 through 10. And it reads, and she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. And that's Yahushua, who the world fraudulently calls JC. And her child was caught up unto God and his throne, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared of God, that they should feed her 1,200 score days. And that basically we were brought here into the West, into the Americas. All right, and there was a war in heaven, and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels. Those are what they call when the so-called UAPs and UFOs, like the one they just tried to fire that Hellfire missile on that bounced off that didn't work. Yeah, that's what we are. That gigantic fathership that's hurling toward Earth, that they crossed over the sun and blotted out the sun. Remember, the Earth can fit into the sun, according to Esau's science, 1.3 million times, and this ship was bigger than the sun. All right, hence fulfilling the scripture, when it says that the whole world will see him when he comes, and that's what we are. And there was a war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels and prevailed not, neither was there any place found any more in heaven. In rulership. All right, heaven meaning rulership. And the great dragon was cast out, and the old serpent called the devil and Satan, all right, that human adversary, Esau, Edom, which deceived the whole world. He was cast into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. All right, so Esau, Edom was brought down. Okay, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our power, and the power of his Hamashiach, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. See? So Yahushua is going to bring down the accuser, Esau, Edom, the murderous liar. And there's absolutely nothing that he can do about it. All right? They got to take this L and go into slavery. Okay? As a matter of fact, just to substantiate that just a little bit more, this is Revelation 22:16 through 18, and we'll wrap with this one. And I, Yahushua, have sent mine angel to testify unto these, and all these scriptures go right along with the opening statements that I make in every video about the tabernacle of David being set up, the 12 tribes of Israel, the lineage of Jacob, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and those of them that are scattered among the heathen that look like the heathen. Right? The tabernacle of David, who are going to rule in the stead of Yahushua under his authority here on earth to enforce the laws of heaven on earth as it is in heaven. The kingdom of heaven will be here on earth. Right? And it says, I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. See, there's a bloodline, a seed line. The Lord is telling you that he's from it, and that is what's going to rule here on earth. And the spirit of the bride say, come, and let him that heareth say, come, and let him that is athirst come, and whosoever will let him take the water of life freely. This truth. For I testified unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book, that if any man shall add unto these things, God shall add unto him the plagues that are written therein in this book. Esau, Edom changed everything. He even changed the 12 tribes to pale, to look to, and you got a people running around the earth screaming that they're Ish and of the line of Jacob, when in actuality, the facts, the history, and the Bible itself tells you that they're from Esau. So with that, we're going to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakah Kwadash Kwam Yasharala Abad Babal.